So we have no interviews today, so we're starting here with our work session for July 1st. Is there anything anyone would like to review on the regular agenda? No? All right, how about updates, issues?
Oh,
Would you like to go
sure,
first?
yes. I'll just keep throwing these dates at you all until they pass. A reminder that, we, Bikes and Bites for the Green Dining Celebration through Earth Day 365 is on Friday the 19th. But it's a Friday, right? I don't have a calendar in front of me.
July.
Yeah. And that week will also, I think, I have a pretty good authority to have a little celebration at our council meeting. Acknowledge?
Yes.
Yes, the
Yes.
Green Dining Restaurants
Thank you,
acknowledge.
just took me a minute.
Yeah, so sorry, I just like.
Sean's been working very hard on it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I think that's exciting stuff. Had a BDC meeting the other day. It was combined for June and July. And there's a chamber after hours event with the BDC on the 14th of August. That is from 5 to 7, and that is going to be at the perennial Olive and Oak complex. Really excited about that. They've been working hard on getting that organized, and then save the date for the 18th of September, which is the next BDC. So the team has been working on that, and I just wanted to make sure to mention those dates to everyone. And otherwise, they're just really doing great things. Their subcommittee is doing awesome things, organizing, unifying all the parts of Webster that do business and coming up with some structure. I have to tip my hat to Tiara. She's just been phenomenal in getting everybody kind of organized and on track and scheduled, and things are really starting to come together. It's lovely to see. So hard work does pay off. And that's it for me.
I don't have any updates. I do want to brag on Mayor Arnold. I think she did a great job at our at the Chamber of Commerce event this past week.
Oh, thank you.
And so I thought she presented and represented Webster Groves very well, much better than the other mayors. I know a lot of you reported, so.
Thank you, David. I'm gonna clip that.
Let the record stand. Yes, you did also.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do one update. And not that I don't have updates every meeting, just that it's the same update I give every month. So this is the old Webster Special District. We basically have a 30-minute meeting. We were talking about the feedback from the night street dance. We said it went real well. And been talking about the rooftop lighting, the decorative parking signs, the district pedestrian signs, and they're trying to fill their vacancies in the commission. So that's pretty much been the agenda for a few weeks. So I think they're real close with the signs. So I think they're selecting one of the vendors to do the signs through. That's about it.
Did they say at Old Webster anything about the Jets pizza spot? So there's a sign up at Jets and says, we're gonna be closed for a little bit while we get our new location ready.
Oh, really?
But I don't know if it's a Webster location. I don't know where it is. So we'll get pizza and we'll ask, but I didn't know if it had come up
Oh,
with
I
that.
don't know where it.
Emily, do you have updates?
Green Space did not meet in July. Plan Commission meets next Monday, so no updates.
All right, community days, lots of fun things planned this week. I want to shout out to all the staff ahead of that. Public Works has been working incredibly hard. Police Department, lots of planning, fire, Parks and Rec, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but with the storms that we had, there's the obvious cleanup going on as we're setting out barricades and getting set up. So they've just really been working hard. I appreciate it and appreciate residents and their patience as we get trees cleared in the right of way and just do all the things that need to be done. So thanks for patience. And we've been trying to answer emails and phone calls as quickly as we can about storm stuff. So and I anticipate many of you have as well. So
So I have a question about whether we were gonna do, I guess, dumpsters over by Blackburn Park, do you know, if we've decided on that?
We're not, and there's a lot of factors for that, but dumpsters are in short supply and being able to get them and then being able to get them removed. The good news, and I know it doesn't completely fit the need, but waste management, we do have unlimited yard waste pickup. They're being pretty flexible, and because it's usually 6 feet, 60 pounds, they would really like people to stay within that. You can set out 20 of those types of bundles. They just ask so people can pick it up, be manageable, but they are being fairly flexible with that.
It's great.
Thank you.
I was in the heart of the microburst, lost 2 trees in the microburst, and for $3,500, you can get those trees removed too. But I was amazed because I go to the park every morning. I walk in the park at Blackburn every morning. The next morning, there were 3 trucks in there at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And they were in there working, cleared all the paths. There were a number of trees down across paths, limbs across paths. They had it all cleared out within a couple of hours, at least in terms of accessibility. So great job.
Katie? Pam?
Next week, Old Orchard will meet for the first time in their quarterly meetings, and I am pretty close to being positive that there are no openings, and so we will have a quorum. We will have no problem having a quorum, and so thanks everybody for helping to get that commission repopulated. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. We, being myself and representatives of Webster University and Eden Seminary, had a meeting week and a half ago with the leadership of Opera Theater St. Louis. The university has worked very hard to present some options for them on the campus. I thought it was a very good meeting, and they suggested they like to keep the conversation going. So we'll see what happens in the future. If they end up in Clayton, they end up in Clayton, but I think everybody here in Webster is doing their best to make it hard to make that decision and provide some attractive options here. And I do want to say a special thank you to Elliot, who did some background work that gave us important information that I needed for that meeting. So thank you very much for that. I'll skip the Chamber's Mayor's panel. Participated in the Immunity League Executive Board planning, so the Immunity League's all set for next year. I really would love to see if we could get a little bit better representation in there if we could. So I think we got an email today from the league that has the meetings for the next year. If you might put some on your calendar, we can certainly split going to those over time. Don't forget, Wednesday, July 9th is the social gathering at my house with the school board to introduce everyone to Dr. Jan Parker, the new superintendent of schools. So council members, city manager, and the school board will be there. We've got a TAC event, July 9th from 6 to 7:30. It's all about safe, complete streets. I want to say safe streets for all. That's what's in my brain, but complete streets. So it's at the rec center. If anyone would like to go, it begins at 6 o'clock and runs until 7:30. That means in order for us to go, we'll all leave my house and go straight over there. That's right. We'll take that. And then finally, Jamie and I have been meeting with some leaders at the high school to put together in the fall a youth summit of about 20-25 students to talk about living in Webster, what they think about the future of Webster. We're going to come back to you all and ask for some council participation after we have a little better sense of what we're doing, but we're working with the Chelsea Center, and I found out today that we also are going to be able to have some NARIC students with us as well. So it will include both of the high schools within Webster Groves. And then I just want to throw out there, I think, given the storms, we talked a little bit about cleanup. I understand the limitations right now, but I do think we're going to have to, as these storms continue to happen this way, come up with some sort of strategy about how we deal with them with residents. And so I just raise it now for sort of long-term discussion. And I know that means complicated discussions. I'm not
does.
suggesting it's gonna be easy, but I also think this, we all know it's just a matter of time before the next event.
I think NLC has a seminar about storm preparation.
Yeah, and to me, this isn't really about preparation. This is about the aftermath and,
Oh,
yeah,
no, I just
yeah,
remind me that there's.
that it's out there, yeah.
And in order to have the aftermath, you gotta know. how to
Yeah, you
prepare
gotta,
for it.
that's a good point. That's a very good point. All right, anything anyone has forgotten at this point?
Not forgotten, just popped in my head. Just want to give a shout out to James and his crew at the rec center. I think they've been doing an excellent job. I enjoyed reading the Facebook post that you guys did, reminding parents to be parents when they're at the swimming pool. It needs to be said, you cannot discharge your responsibility of being a parent and think it's going to be the city's job to watch it. I think they published some good hints for parents.
That's where they can sign up for camp, right?
I did
Right.
one thing and Karen
Yes.
just joined. I don't know.
Oh, good. Thank you for pointing that out.
Just wanted to mention Juneteenth celebration. I attended that. It was a beautiful night, great band, lots of community, lots of people attended. The food was good, so it was a really fun evening, and it was good to be out there on a Friday night hanging out with all our neighbors. Good job, everybody.
Karen, we can't see you, but that's okay. If you have any announcements, now would be the time, or you can just tell me to move on.
Yeah, I don't have any announcements. It was sorry, I'm just kind of recovering. I had the second cataract surgery today. So so you guys don't want to see my patch. I got a patch on my eye.
But you showed it anyway.
That's my proof. But so anyway, no, it was a really nice night. It's unfortunately it was the same night as the Rock Hill Ministries trivia night, so I had committed to that as well. So, after announcing, I had to run up there, but just had a lot of nice feedback from people in the neighborhood. Really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, Karen. The trivia night was a success. We had fun. A lot of residents and friends were there. I think we had close to 15 tables.
Good.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you, Karen. You get the gold star for participation tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think we can move on to our topics, and we are back with front-facing garage. Director of Planning Development, Webster is here, and the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. So, welcome everyone. And so what I'm going to do is, as you would all ask me to send a draft of the code with the proposed red line changes, which we did. And we're just going to talk a little bit about that tonight. It's to see a lot of some of the same things from last time, just to bring everyone up to speed and then move right into it. So, as I said, just brief history, summary of the key elements of the code with regard to, regular location. So just a little more review of the variances and history of the code, and then get into the meat of our proposals and rationales for them, and talk about what the options are that you all have, and take your questions. Next slide. So, brief history of the code, the current code. Won't go into it in great detail because we went through it the last time. Just added the main presentation, and but yeah, just basically we've been doing 20 years in dealing with this current code. Next slide. Should I stop? Or-
No. Sorry.
You can keep going.
Okay, sorry. All right, so, and you have a copy of this, so, this is the summary of the code. What the garage widths are when we're dealing with front entry garages or side and rear facing garages. Door widths. Whether it applies to the primary front or the secondary front, exceptions, how far it can go over in front of the front wall. And that's that. Next slide. Same slide as before, showing you a smattering of the various garages around town. Next slide. So I want to go just through this a little bit because this cues up the proposals that I'm making. We had 31 requests for variances since the code was passed. 24 were approved, 6 were rejected, 1 was withdrawn. Of the ones that were approved, 21 were for appeal of the 40% block requirement, meaning 40% of the block had to have front-facing garages before they could be allowed to have their own front-facing garage. 4 were for increased projection over the 6 feet. 3 were for increased garage width. The ones that were rejected, 5 of them were for the 40% requirement, and 1 was for the increased garage width. Next slide. So here's now I want to get into the proposals that we made. The first one, and this I think is the biggest one, is eliminating the requirement that if you have 40% or more of the houses on both sides of a block have front entry garages, then you can have a front entry garage. As you just saw, we've had 21 variances granted for this same issue over the last 20 years. And that just strikes me as saying, okay, this is something that if the city doesn't really have an issue with, so I'm proposing that just take it out altogether.
So effectively, if this were to change, if we were to pass this, then you would have to go for a variance, so it would be administratively approved.
Correct. All the other sections of the code, except for the 2 that I'm going to propose, would be the same. But you wouldn't have to go for the 40% or a variance. Next one. The second one is a design requirement, and this is not in the code. I've added this as a proposal, and I'm just going to read it. If the garage projects in front of or is set back from the primary front elevation, the side elevation between the 2 front-facing facades shall also be considered part of the primary front elevation and shall be required to be architecturally integrated with the rest of the front elevation. That's a lot of language, and I'm easier to just show you, next slide, what that could look like. So I have 2 hypothetical examples, one with the garage projecting forward and one with the garage projecting back. So items A, facades A are the front facade, and B is what we would consider now the side. And what I'm proposing in all that language is that area B would have to be architecturally contiguous with area A that we would consider part of the front wall. You notice how in the lower picture it's still brick, so that one matches. But in the top picture, what that would mean in effect is that sidewall would have to have those shingles and the front siding line to match the front walls of the house. Next slide. The third one is where the code allows if 40% of the dwellings on the block have exceed the size limits in the code for front-facing garages, meaning not just that they have them, but that they're wider than what's allowed. The ARB currently can approve a design for front entry garage that exceeds these limits. What I am proposing is that that be eliminated. And the idea is you'd still be allowed to have a front entry garage. But it just, the ARB would not, if this were passed, be allowed to say, okay, 40% of the houses have garages that are wider than what's allowed. So we're gonna let you have it. It just, it doesn't feel like, from what research I've done, that that's really in context with what the character of what the city is looking for. And that is evidenced by, next slide, some of the provisions in the draft comprehensive plan, which I've shown up, and I'll just read a couple. Review and modernize existing zoning code and permitting process to meet changing housing needs and preferences, and continue to preserve and protect the city's historic neighborhoods and commercial districts. No one of these directly refers to front entry garages, but if you take them together, it's saying that, you know, that the city's looking to have and protect its character and the pedestrian neighborhoodly feel, and having ultra wide front entry garages doesn't seem like it fits that characteristic. So that's why we made the proposal. Next slide.
Well, can I ask one question? In
Yes.
terms of the measurement or of, if you go back a slide for me. So when we talked about the, trying to read what it called, the size limit of the garage, is that relative to the house that's being built, or is that an absolute number?
It's both. And what it is, can you go back, I think it's 2 or 3 slides. Next one. Next one. There we go.
Thank you.
So, it's for houses that are lower than 40, smaller than 44 feet. It's 22 feet or 42% of the front elevation. And that's for larger than 44 feet. For smaller than 44 feet width, it's maximum of 50% of the front elevation. So it varies depending on the size of the house.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood that part.
And to that point, there is opportunity for since you can, for a house that's like, if you had a 75-foot wide house, 42% of that width is going to be something larger than 22 feet.
Right.
So there is opportunity for a 3-car garage for some houses if the lot's wide enough, and that's is that you wouldn't be able to have on a 50-foot lot a 30-foot wide garage front, even if the others met that original 40% provision. That's what I'm proposing. Move forward. So, potential options that you have with these proposals. One, approve everything as is, which is our recommendation, our staff recommendation. Number 2, approve the changes, the proposed changes that you presented with some revisions. Number 3, approve 1 or 2 of them with or without revision. Number 4, make no changes to the code at all, just status quo. Or number 5 is eliminate this section of code entirely. And with that,
So, Karen, would you take us to this? There was a slide that had all 3 of these on there, correct? It just might be easier was there?
there was not.
Okay, well then let's go to part 1. We can just do it this way. That's fine. I just want to make sure. If you gave us all our options, which is great. I know, keep going to the suggested changes.
Forward.
Forward, yeah.
that one.
Yeah, so this is the first one. All right, so I suggest as a council, if you don't object, that we just go through the three. And if, and we're not formally voting because we need an ordinance change, so, what we're actually gonna decide is whether we want each of these three provisions in a draft that comes to us as a change in the ordinance, right? Isn't that what we need?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the first one, which is the 40% requirement, is out. If we can just go around really quickly, do you want to proceed with this, yes or no?
I think-
Or if you have questions, and we should have
Well-
questions first.
And my question is, all of your recommendations are standard in with the other municipalities, what's going on in the other cities?
It just varies depending, every municipality does it a little differently, but these are some form of each of these three is in one of the municipalities.
Mhm.
Okay, David, you were ready to make.
I was gonna say, I think this makes a lot of sense because it removes the burden of it going to, the resident having to go to the ARB, particularly since the majority of them, the vast majority have been approved, and puts it to the administrative, determination. This is exactly what I was looking for, so I think this makes a lot of sense.
Karen, you're the other one who brought this forward. Do you want to make any comments on this first item?
Yeah, I agree. This is primarily the one that I was looking to have addressed and removed. And so I appreciate this. And this is what I would be in agreement of having this removed.
Okay. Anybody else?
I was just gonna ask, it was like, oh, sorry, was that you, Pam?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm not for this as a whole citywide change, but I would be willing to look at it if we wanted to go through the different types of designations that we have for residential lots and consider it that way. One reason is, I guess I would like to know how many garages were approved within the code. To me, 20 houses in 19 years is not a lot. That's one reason. And then the other reason ties into the next one about the sizes. So I can talk about that when we get to that one.
Okay.
But it would affect this. So anyway, that's it.
My question was on the 5 or so that were not approved by the ARB. Were there any, I don't know if you looked at the details of those, if there were any that were like, would still be something we would not want, and if those would be covered by any of the other changes?
I have not, and let me just clarify that the ones, when I was talking about the Board of Adjustment, not the ARB, the 21 and 5 rejected, those were for variances.
Not the 40% rule.
Correct.
So the 40% rule that we have in that, like, how many of those have been approved? I thought that was the 20
Was
versus.
the 21 were variances granted apart from what the normal ARB process. Now, I looked today, tried to look in our code to see how many were approved the ARB. It's really hard to tell, but what I did find was that there, since in our magnet system, when it goes back to 2017, there are 195 garages approved, of which 17 permits were applied for garages over 30 feet in width. Now, I wasn't able to tell which of those were exceptions permitted by the ARB. That's something I need to do more research on, and we can do that. But just to give some perspective on the numbers that you're looking for, I looked those up.
I think I'm all for simplifying it, if that's, the right thing to do. I'm happy to simplify it. My only concern of it is if we have been able to catch things that we still would want to catch. are we getting rid of too many guardrails?
th- and that's an excellent question. These, if this were eliminated, item one, they would still go to ARB. They'd still like, because it's an addition or a new construction, like anything else. So that those guardrails are still in place. What I'm proposing is that there wouldn't be a step where they have to either be on a block where there's 40% of the houses already have these front entry garages, or B, go for a variance.
But ARB, if we got rid of this, would no longer be able to say, you're the first house on your block that would like this, so we don't think that's appropriate. They wouldn't be able to say that. Right?
They've never been able to say that. ARB hasn't.
Yeah, they
That was
enforce
a-
the code.
That was a Board of Adjustments thing for the 40%.
Because it was cold.
But like ARB saying that that's a guardrail, sorry to interrupt, I don't, in the way I see it is that they're there to enforce code, not to be
Yeah.
like, I don't like this, the
I'm-
look of this.
Right, so the guardrails that I'm talking about are what's written in the code, not bodies, not not part of the process.
So the regulations as far as garage width, projection, architectural detailing would not change, except for the one that I proposed, which makes it more restrictive. But everything else stays as is.
Except that if somebody is on a street that doesn't have front facing garages,
They can
And
apply
they-
for,
can apply for one.
and ARB will review it as if there were 40% or more. So there wouldn't be you can't have it. That would go away because of the
Right,
40% rule.
right,
That would no longer be in effect.
and I'm just not sure how big of a risk that is.
So ARB then would be able to say, to lean on the 40% rule?
No, that would be
That's gone.
That would be gone.
So anybody could build a front facing garage.
They would have the opportunity to do so with the restrictions of our code. So they still have to meet the code, they still have to have the width ratio, the architectural detailing. It couldn't project farther than 6 feet in front of the front wall of the property. All those other details, it's in the historic district, it's got to go to the Historic Preservation Commission, all that would remain. It's just that there wouldn't be the automatic no if it's a block with less than 40% of the house already having a front facing garage.
And the automatic no isn't automatic because most people who go to the Board of Adjustment get the waiver approved anyway.
Yeah.
Correct.
So there is no automatic no. What the code says and how we're behaving seem to be two different things right now.
But it sounds like there are some things that haven't been approved.
A few of them, yeah.
So I don't know, like,
Yeah.
are those things that we would still have a problem with? And would we be able to avoid having them with
So-
make these changes?
So what I think we could do, and please, I'd be happy to be told I'm wrong if I am, is get some of that data when we hear the ordinance itself. So what are those 5 or 6 instances? And, we'll do first and second reading, third reading. We don't have to rush through it. We can make amendments to it if those things seem to be a challenge to us when they come before us.
I think I recall last time in Elliot, you can correct me if I'm wrong. That Elliot was gonna try to get some of that information, but the data only goes back to 2017 in magnets. So,
Yeah.
right, so we will try, but it may not, you all may have to make that decision without having
Well,
information
usually,
from 5 or 6 of
If
those.
everything since 2017 has been approved by the Board of Adjustment, that's information we have as well.
Exactly,
So,
I'm just curious about the ones
Yeah.
that weren't approved, why weren't they approved, and would they be approved today, or, tomorrow if we made this change? And is that something that we really want?
I understand the question.
And I don't know the answer to that.
Some of this
Right,
stuff is a
yeah.
mystery amongst what
Yeah.
data we do have.
Absolutely.
I mean, there may be or other things that rejected those when they were the Board of Adjustment, like the setbacks weren't, they were within the
Right.
setbacks or something like that. I mean, so I guess we would need to know those circumstances as well. You know. So,
Elliot, would that provide more administrative approval from your department to the,
No, it would still go before the ARB.
right, but if it's something you guys approve to them, the process is much faster.
Yeah, because if it's not going for a variance, then it's just the ARB meeting and staff review and that's
No,
that-
whatever, just.
correct.
Then that, I just remember when I added on, after I went to ARB, and then I went to, because I wanted a variance, which I knew was wrong in the first place. But I had to wait like 30 days, to get the variance, and I didn't get anyway. But I'm just saying, if I start building 30 days earlier, if ARB had the.
So Emerson, what are you,
I'm in favor.
okay. Jamie, do you want to weigh in at all?
I'm just, I don't know why I'm worried about like these, the snout type of housing, even though I know that's not in our code. It just is my concern, but it wouldn't happen.
Well, and don't worry, we're getting some more information. No one, everyone who's saying anything, we're just trying to decide
Yeah.
whether we want Elliot to spend his time on a red line that includes this provision. And I think we're the 4 people who do, so I think that for the first one.
So
So
this is one of the objectives we want to prove. I mean, modernizing our codes.
and the question is, do we all believe that this is modernizing? That's the discussion that I think
Yeah.
we're having
You know
here.
the purpose of my
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
Is this
absolutely.
going on with,
All right, so there are at least 4 members who would like to have this in red lines and provided in an ordinance change. So let's go to the second one, please. Which is the ARB waiving, no, my order is different than your order. Tell us again what this one does, Elliot, please.
This one, can you go to the graphic? It's easier to. This one is saying that if you have a front facing garage, whether it projects forward or projects back, the side between the garage wall and the front of the house has to be architecturally contiguous with the front wall.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so with that one, Elliot, so is the primary objective is to make sure, again, from a design perspective, that we're not just sticking boxes on the front of the house.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is really what would give ARB some teeth to say,
Exactly.
you can't just stick that box there.
Right.
What's the rule now?
The rule doesn't say anything about that sidewall.
So you could do whatever you wanted to effectively?
It's effectively, I mean, what it says is that, can you go up to the code page?
What's your columns?
No, the other way. Keep going. Keep going, keep going. Next page, that one. So you, the second on the left, there's 2 bullets. The second bullet on the left side, and the dark bullet where it talks about the front porch must extend from the garage to the other side of the front facade. And what it also says is that the garage has to be architecturally integrated. And it says the same thing on the first bullet on the right side. That's all it says. So that middle part is not addressed. And so that's literally a gap that this proposal is trying to address.
That seems completely reasonable.
Right, so if we're gonna have more of these, let's
Yeah.
make them
Please.
look good.
Exactly.
Okay, sounds like this one's fine too for red line draft.
Mhm.
So we've got the third one. this one is the ARB 40%, right? You want to tell us what this one is again? please,
Yes.
Rather than me bastardizing the summation. Sorry, that word I'm not supposed to use.
Sorry. Okay, what this is saying is that right now, if this is a step up as far as allowance from the 40% rule, this is like 40% plus. So in the original 40% rule, if there were 40% of the houses or more, or fewer rather, had front-facing garages, you couldn't put a front-facing garage. So this is saying if 40% or more of the houses on the block not only have a front-facing garage, but have a front-facing garage that's wider than what the code allows, you can ask the ARB to have your garage be wider. And what I'm proposing in this codes change is to eliminate that, to say that would not be allowed.
Yeah.
That if they want to have the wider garage, they would have to go straight to a variance regardless of whether 40% of the houses on the block have a wider garage than what is allowed or not.
So there is still that appeal process to the Board of Adjustment,
Yes.
or I don't know what it's really called, an appeal, but
Is that always an option?
Yes.
Basically, on anything?
And this addresses a little bit your concern, saying that this doesn't, having the ultra wide garages doesn't really speak to what the character of the code is looking for, or what the character of the draft comp plan is looking for. So I'm proposing just take it out. If someone desperately wants a 40-foot wide garage, they can apply for a variance and take their chances.
But this is going to kind of help contain the likelihood that we're going to have these places with these big over monstrous sized garages. Is that oversimplifying this?
No, it's not.
Okay, good. Because I mean, I would hate to see that. I mean, I would like to see, us to be able to have the option. But again, I would like to make sure that we have the guardrails, and it's like you can't just come in and build a house and it's all garage on the front.
But this does say, I mean, is this the last part of this code that we're talking about, or is there another one?
What's this last one?
this is the last one. It's
Okay.
It's different than
So I think
never mind, go ahead, Pam.
the idea of a house, if it's on a large enough lot, to have a garage that's that's half the width of it, that does seem like a lot to me. I mean, can we keep it at the smaller? Well, first of all, if we have a house that's large enough and you can have a lot large enough and you can have a garage that's half the house wide, and it exceeds, I think right now isn't our garage size 20 by 24, is that the largest we can allow?
It's 22 by 24 is for a detached garage is the largest that's allowed, because it's 860 square feet. But
Okay,
a detached garage, if you go back to the codes page, I think it's slide 4. That one. For a house that's 44 feet wide or wider, it's 42% of the front elevation or 22 feet.
okay, so that is it is setting a max
Okay.
Yes.
there. Okay. Okay, then can we go back to the part 3 again? Okay, because it can't be big because we've got the stuff in the earlier thing. Okay, I'm good.
Okay, so it looks like then if we could have a draft with all three of these elements included, as well as the information on those instances before the Board of Adjustment that were denied, where we can find data at least. That would be great. And if it's at all possible, if we can have that data when we get the red line, not just in the presentation, because I know some of us are not as good about thinking through data that is just right then presented to us. And by that, I mean me. I'm not indicating anyone else. Pam, you have your hands up there.
I do, yeah. I know we're trying to keep this simple, but is it possible to look at it based on the different categories we have based on lot sizes, like A1 districts and et cetera? Is it possible to look at an option or data or something behind doing this that way versus citywide?
Pam, explain to me why you want that to do it that way rather than citywide. Because last time we did something like that, we,
Right,
you
it
know,
was a problem.
Well, I get it. I'm thinking, I guess it's just due diligence. This is kind of a design code guideline. And so I think, to me, I would want all the information on what that would do. I mean, I could do my own research and go around and look at different areas just to see how that would affect them.
I guess, let me rephrase the question. Are there things that you expect that will be impacted differently across the different zoning districts? I guess I'm not, since most
I
of this
guess I
is set
don't,
up as
what I'm saying is
ratio.
I don't know enough, I don't have enough of the information to know that.
So I
And
guess
then-
that-
Before, I mean, so like I said, I wouldn't be able to vote in confidence without having that information. I can do it myself, but I also feel like it would be good for council to look at it that way as well, just to see how it would affect examples in each of those districts, or however we want to call it.
I guess I'm still, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm still not quite sure I understand what you're asking for, and I may just be dense on this.
The city, in my mind, the city is categorized based on sizes of lots. And we are basing house sizes based on sizes of lots at times with maximums. And so I think I was just thinking I would want to know how this would affect a small lot, a medium lot, a large lot, etc.
I think that protection's in place with number one. Like how we have the maximum already,
The percentages.
the percentages. I think I understand what you're saying, Pam, and I think it's a fair concern. I just think that number one addresses it. And then if it exceeds that, then they have to get a variance. So in other words, you can't build a huge house on a small lot already because of the code. And so the house on the lot is gonna be compatible with the lot, and therefore the maximums that we have in our code already will prevent in each individual district from exceeding or prevent huge front-facing garages, I'm thinking.
Okay, good luck. What, Elliot, looked like you wanted to say something.
Well, just the regulations are based on the size of the house, not the size of the lot. Now, the size of the house is predicated on the size of the lot. So if you have a 50-foot wide lot, and it's an A4, you've got 5 feet of side yard setback. You cannot build a house larger than 40 feet. The garage cannot be, if you own a front facing garage, it cannot be larger than 20 feet because of the rules that already exist on the ground. That won't change.
So that's why I guess I wanted to know.
So can I suggest?
But I can do my own due diligence.
Well, I'm gonna suggest, Pam, that you actually have a more direct conversation outside the meeting with Elliot, so that you can make sure you get what you need. Nobody's trying to stop you from getting what you need. Now I think I understand what it is that you want, and that makes sense.
Well, and so I just want to make sure, everyone on council would have that as well.
And then we still have, I mean, because you still have historical or neighborhoods that literally have a formal historic designation. So all of those same restrictions for those particular areas would still be in play. Right? Elliot, is that
Yes.
is that an
Yeah.
accurate statement? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
So
which-
if those neighborhoods don't permit it, then they're still not going to be able to do it because they are designated because of their existing historical designation. But everything doesn't have a historical designation.
And I mean, I think I am reacting to in a different way to past experience on making a change like this. And I, again, want to be sure I'm 100% on what I'm voting.
Yeah.
So, I'm
Okay.
trying to make sure.
Yeah.
When we receive our red lines, maybe you can get with Elliot at that time
Yeah.
so make sure you understand what's the
Yeah.
changes they're gonna be making.
So we'll get a red line, we'll get some more data, and then we'll all be able to do this. And again, no one has held to anything that they've said today because we haven't had any formal votes. So we'll get that process started, and probably won't see this for a while because we've got a pretty full agenda, and I know Elliot does as well. Okay.
I think our aim would be to bring it back next meeting or the meeting after. We're not gonna.
Oh, okay, then never mind. Forget I said any of that. All
We're on
right.
a roll.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, we'll all get to work. So, we do have, one reappointment to a board or commission, Matt Rood or Rhodey, 1 year, on sustainability to fill out a term, and he'd like to be reappointed for a full term. I understand that has been, supported by the chair and that liaisons have no objection. Everyone okay with that? Pam, you okay with
Yeah,
that?
he's
All
good.
right, we will make that reappointment then. Okay, we have 5 minutes now. But I have, I mean, I think this isn't part of the meeting. I think you can turn off the recording, but Pam might want to hear this. Karen,
It's all right there. You're live.
okay, welcome to our July 1st regular meeting. We welcome comments for those of you in attendance. If you're here, and you can fill out a speaker card over there, and I, as mayor, will call on you at the appropriate time. If you're on Zoom and would like to make a public comment, we'll ask you to do the raise your hand function, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes. And I'm going to do that in the shortened version because we got a pretty low attendance today. So we'll start with the call of the roll, please.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Arnold,
Here.
Councilmember Bliss.
Here.
Councilmember Franklin.
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here,
Councilmember Alexander,
Here,
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd. Here. Councilmember Hessmeyer.
Here.
We're gonna start with remarks from the community and visitors. I don't see anyone in the room and I have no cards. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to use the raise their hand function in order to speak at this time? I do not see any hands going up, so we will move on, and I'll ask if anyone has any new business. No new business. We'll move on to our unfinished business. Council member Hickson Shepherd, could you call for the third reading of bill number 9283, please?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to call for the third reading of bill number 9283.
Second. I'm sorry, Bill 9283, third reading. An ordinance amending the city traffic code, chapter 60, article 16, section 60.975, schedule H, to prohibit parking at all times on the east side of South Old Orchard between the intersections of Big Bend South to the intersection of East Lockwood Avenue.
All right. Is there any discussion? Okay, we will have that vote then, please.
Councilmember Bliss.
Well, hold on, I'm sorry. Do we need Karen to turn on her camera for a vote?
No.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. Please proceed.
Councilmember Bliss.
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander,
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Hassmeyer,
Yes.
Mayor Arnold.
Yes. Is there anything anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda?
Not removed, but I had a question about,
Okay.
on the lease, is that go up, a certain percent each year, or how does this compare to our current lease?
At least with the
With the, for the parking at,
Presbyterian
Yeah.
Church. Gregory can speak to it.
It's
It's congregational.
Oh, sorry,
I didn't say it's
Yeah.
congregational.
Leases with both, so.
You do have leases with both.
Current lease since 2019 has increased 5% a year.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions? All right, Councilmember Hasselmeyer, could you call for the approval of the consent agenda, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to call for the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander,
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Hassmeyer,
Yes.
Mayor Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss.
Yes.
All right, we've made one appointment, or actually a reappointment to the Sustainability Commission. And Pam, do you know how to pronounce Matt's last name?
Rudy.
Rudy, thank you. I just wanted to do it at least once correctly. So he's been reappointed to the Sustainability Commission. We do have a closed session. Councilmember Franklin, could you call for that, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to call for an executive closed session pursuant to Missouri statute section 610.021 subsection 1 attorney-client privileged communications, and also Missouri section statute 610.021 subsection 12 negotiated contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander,
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Hassmeyer,
Yes.
Mayor Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss,
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin.
Yes.
All right, that concludes the public portion of our meeting for tonight. So thank you all very much for being with us. Have a wonderful Independence Day.